Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Festivus, and all of that. This is the 12-hour Betwixt Marathon. Um, and some people have got their live stream going. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to the 12-hour Betwixt Marathon. Betwixt means between. It's just a different way of saying it. I think it's maybe British. I don't know. We'll ask the panel that's about to come on. Does Betwixt mean... Hold on. Here we go. Ready? Does
Words.
Betwixt mean anything to you guys? Welcome. We've got Raynard, Fight the
Hello.
Flat Earth. We got Chris and Lee. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Doing good.
Yeah.
But Twitch isn't something that's used nowadays. It's normally reserved for, back in time, not nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Archaic.
So, Time Lord
It's archaic
Science.
rather than
Archaic,
colloquial,
yes.
isn't
So
it?
it's when you were under the colony rule, as it should have been.
Wait.
Before you decided you liked tea.
Before the Great Rebellion.
Yeah.
Is that what you
Which,
call it? Is that what you call it? We call it...
Well,
we
we
don't-
call it
I
a
don't
know.
rebellion.
We like to
because, you know,
forget it.
Yeah. You tried, and we were like, you know what? Actually, it's a lot of effort. We just give it to them.
Right. That's why you
Yeah.
attacked twice. Anyway, all is
it's
forgiven. It's all good. Anyway, welcome everybody to this is dedicated to discussing the mind of steel. Can you do it for us, Raynard?
Mind of Steel.
There you go. Now I started by doing some of the stuff on Mark Steele, but I tell you, Raynard has taken it and gone nuts with it. How many you crossed 10,000 subscribers?
The channel has just hit 10,000 subscribers, and but I'd like to give a big thanks, because this would never have happened without four people, yourself and Mohammed Shafiq, because you guys were the original YouTubers to cover Mark Steele in any significant detail. But of course, Mark Steele himself, and lately Sabrina, because those two have propelled my channel to stratospheric heights that I never believed. I did not believe that there were 10,000 people on this round planet who would want to watch stuff about Mark Steele. Definitely round, from one edge of this circular planet to another, there are 10,000 people who all want to know about Mark Steele's latest nutbaggery, and I merely present it on a plate, diced up into handy bite-sized morsels to make it accessible to the regular people who may not have enough time to delve as deeply as I do into the sordid world of Mark.
So if anybody's wondering, Raynard's link is in the description. Go there right now. Subscribe to his channel. It is well worth your time. You had something to say,
Excellent.
Craig?
Nowadays that people have an unsatiable appetite for watching stupid, and Mark Steele is stupid personified. In fact, when I looked in the dictionary online under stupid, there was just a picture of Mark Steele.
There you go.
Interesting was also under the word ignorant, annoying, moronic. They all seem to have just pictures of Mark Steele.
Very nice.
I do have one. Right, when you guys say the mind of steel, what does that mean? Because
Yeah, it's being generous. Let's before we get too far, I'd like to introduce. So we introduced Raynard. I think most people familiar with my channel are familiar with Craig. Did I say it right?
Craig, there we go.
Craig.
Yes.
It still sounds to me like I'm mocking when I say that. Then we've got on the bottom left, we've got Chris, who today is calling himself. Let's see if I can get it up to where you can see it. Let's see. Hold on. Calling himself Commander Bond, Brigade 77.
That's sorry. That should not be there. That's
Oh.
a mistake.
All right. Hold on. I'll fix that.
We can't have.
Okay. Hold on.
This isn't going out live, is it?
It is live. But I can.
Oh, shit.
I can
Sorry.
change it. And anyway, we've got Lee's Lab.
Hello.
Lab. Okay, you can fix that. Oh, there's another. Hold on. I need to fix that other one. Anyway, talk amongst yourself. I need to adjust some of these names here that are a little.
Well, what do we say? I think Raynard, some of my favorite ones you've done currently are of Sabrina. She has been absolutely fantastic.
Sabrina
the depth of thought she has and the words she uses mesmerize me to sleep.
Sorry, you said depth of thought. I've just rebooted.
So maybe for those who haven't seen Sabrina yet, and I appreciate that MC Toon's audience is significantly larger than my own, so there may be some people in this watching this live stream who are unaware of who Sabrina Wallace is. She is, I'll say she's kind of like the genius's genius. She is an all-encompassing expert, whether it's electronics, computer science, and any topic in between those vast and sturdy pillars of knowledge.
Yes. Say expert, do we mean expert or do we mean very, very expert?
I mean the latter, precisely in the same sense. So she's another one of these people who believes herself to be vast and cornucopious knowledge, but in actual fact, she is a completely unqualified person who doesn't seem to have a correct thought about anything. I honestly wonder how she gets out of bed in the morning, because the things she comes out with are astonishing. But because of that, she has provided. In fact, the only problem when making videos about Sabrina is, she'll put out about 6 hours of video every single day, and I just have to chop it down to 4 minutes to show people just what on earth is going wrong with Sabrina. What on earth is going on with Sabrina?
You're one of the superheroes. You watch the stupid so other people don't have to. Just like
she should be paying me, because I'm basically the closest thing she will ever have to an editor.
Have you thought about using ChatGPT to summarize what she says?
Oh, I have thought of this, that I could basically use Amazon's speech to text, and then you have ChatGPT summarizes. But I suspect somewhere,
what would it say?
I suspect that we might find the sort of the seam in the Turing completeness of this process, and in doing so, I might be the one to bring down ChatGPT. It's possible.
It's the worst thing.
I just asked ChatGPT to summarize it, and it said something about activating Skynet protocol.
That's the problem. You can't do that.
There's nothing about Sabrina that's Turing complete.
Oh, my bad.
But I swear that Sabrina actually does believe that we're on the verge of some kind of Skynet type disaster. That's literally so. Sabrina's belief system, I mean, how to summarize it? She thinks that we have all been cyborged, that we have, against our will, been implanted with biosensors.
So when this video is coming out, where Chris and you and myself talked about it, right? That's coming up.
So that's happening on 8th of January, I think, or 1st of January, one of those 2 days.
You tease.
Yeah, so we're going to. This is simply a preview as to what Sabrina's belief systems are. But yeah, she believes that our bodies, against our will, contain biosensors,
and unbeknownst to us.
Yeah. Now, in my real life, I work with data a lot, and just imagine how much data if we have millions of. I do, yes. When I'm not working for this august organization, but I deal a lot with weather data, and it costs a fortune to store it all, and we have to pay organizations like Oracle and Snowflake and Amazon RDS to store a paltry 50 terabytes of data. Now imagine if we all have biochips. Biosensors streaming data as fast as the internet will allow, filling up databases somewhere. There must be what's like a billion times bigger than a terabyte? Is exabytes, petabytes? Somebody
peta than exa.
Peta than exa, yeah.
Okay, right.
So the Earth has a theoretical limit of data that it could store based on the mass of the Earth. If that was the case, the amount of data that would be stored would outpace the Earth's ability to actually store that ability physically.
If every single human body, and possibly some non-human bodies as well, are all transmitting maybe megabytes per second via some internet-based protocol via the human biofield, which is what Sabrina claims, then this database is filling up faster than any mining tool would ever. Like, what's the point of it? But then that's not a sort of question that Sabrina might ask.
Well, not only that, there's more problems. Hold on, Craig. Just that there's more problems than this. She thinks that this data is being transmitted over a mesh network of human bodies, right? But I don't want to ruin it. We get into that in that discussion. It's nuts. It's completely nuts.
You see, the thing about that discussion that got me really nuts was all the secret stuff that's published on the internet as the proceedings of the IEEE.
It's public.
I mean, that was the bit that really got me. It was all this secret stuff published on the internet.
That secret, is it?
It's so secret.
All the
Even
standards
Google can find it.
They're really old standards, aren't they? But like sort of the early 2000s, and it's all been replaced now with slightly newer stuff.
No. All the IEEE stuff for 802 goes back to like 1982 or something.
Yes,
yeah,
ancient.
802.15 series that she's looking at.
We've moved on since then.
And some of them are rather new. And so the 802.15 802.16, I don't know. It's some of them are rather recent.
Yeah. So Globa Mum in the chat has just asked if Sabrina believes we are living in something like the Matrix. I think the Matrix is actually far more optimistic than what Sabrina believes is happening. That I think she believes that the world we live in is objectively real, but we are all potentially targeted individuals, and that a cabal of electronic engineers and computer scientists have, unbeknownst to the rest of the world, developed this high-tech bioimplant technology, implanted it within us, and now can see what we see, could potentially remote control us, and we are all targeted individuals, to use their jargon.
So does she think she's one of these targeted individuals?
So it's very hard to say. So I think she
thinks
in some episodes,
yeah.
She thinks she's somebody who, I think she believes that she has been, but through raising her consciousness, through what she refers to as biofield exercise, she has overcome the targeted effect.
I am currently raising my consciousness with Glemorange.
Yeah.
Chamomile tea. So, yeah. But then a lot of it's kind of interesting to go on. Sorry,
I have a technical question. If I've got this,
okay.
Is this appropriate, or do I need something bigger?
Just top it off. Top it off.
I'm on the hard stuff. Chamomile tea for me today. But so what's interesting as well is Sabrina has a sort of fan club. If you go on Telegram search for Synergists, which is spelled P-S-I-N-I-G-I. Synergists. Okay, I can't spell under pressure. But so this is a Telegram group that seems to have thousands of people in it. And these are people who all suffer from precisely the same delusion. And they all believe that Sabrina is some kind of oracle and revealer who has explained a feeling that they have long known, that they have long believed that they are the victim of some kind of abusive, controlling technology or some kind of abusive control. And Sabrina has provided them with an explanation of precisely how this was achieved. And they look at Sabrina. If you look at when she's performing on her various videos, she has a mannerism. It's a lot similar to, let's say, if Jeff Goldblum were to perform in a science fiction film and pretend to be a scientist, if he was acting the role of scientist, like in The Fly, he's got this very wry kind of technobabble, and then he smirks, and then he says something else that sounds a bit technobabbly. And she talks a bit like that. She'll often read pages from Wikipedia and then ironically emphasize certain sections of the text. And it creates an impression amongst people who aren't very technical that Sabrina is a profoundly technical person. And they look to her for an explanation. And it's kind of interesting. I could talk for ages about Sabrina, but like how she's come to this, because we know that Sabrina is somebody who once had a technical job. She appears to have once been a low-level technical worker at a medium-sized regional internet service provider, not far from where our friend MC2 lives, perhaps.
Yeah, I've driven near the town that she worked in.
I mean, don't forget she does have a CCNA. I mean, that's
Yeah, maybe you should explain what that is.
I'm trying to decide how to do it without referencing a cornflakes packet.
Well, I'll have a go. So employees look for qualifications for people, just as you can prove generally that you at least know what you're talking about. The CCNA is the first rung of that little ladder. So I did a CCNA because I saw they had exam opportunities across the road from where I was. I just popped in one day and did it and came out with a CCNA. It's very, very easy. It's like getting a 1 on a GCSE. You just start getting there.
What's a 1 on a GCSE for an American?
It's like a fail.
It's about a 2.0 and a grade point average.
Okay.
Yeah, like a
2.0.
It's not an exceptionally difficult.
We don't say that
make,
either.
Yeah.
We don't say not.
Basically, you failed basically, but you could write your name at the top and get the date right, and you turned up.
So the reason why Chris mentioning the CCNA is very relevant to the Sabrina story, because in her little broadcasts to her public, she will often hold up this book and make proclamations like, well, I know about network security, and then she'll present this book to her audience, knowing that absolutely nobody in the audience knows what the CCNA qualification is, because they're all technically illiterate people. She's dealing with a similar sort of person to what Mark Steele deals with. And what I'm finding also quite amusing of late is that thanks to my efforts, it seems that Mark and Sabrina have now become more aware of each other, and they're starting to riff on each other's material. So there was a video that Mark Steele posted quite recently in which he was talking about W bands, wireless body area networks, and how these were part of the cabal's dystopian plans. And there's nowhere he could have got that except for Sabrina. And then we had another video recently of Sabrina posting on her video feed, basically verifying that Mark Steele was in fact an expert in her opinion who really knew his stuff. And then at one point she rather hilariously chastised me for being an idiot, saying, before you criticize this man, I didn't know who he was. And now I've seen him, I'm verifying that he's telling the truth, which I thought was hilarious, because maybe, Sabrina, maybe that was the entire point. Maybe I was trying to achieve that, right? But
no, you gave it away. Now she's going to watch this.
As Daniel Turfley says, 3 steps ahead, mate. 3 steps ahead, if you've seen that episode.
Speaking of Daniel Turfley.
Raynard, you and your psyops. This is what it is. It's all psyops, isn't it? It's very clever. I think it's really interesting when she presents these big placards of like all these joined up bits of pictures and words and things.
She holds up these tag boards.
Yes, these big tag boards. And they must take quite a long time to produce. But I like to freeze them at a frame and zoom in on it and pan around a bit and see what she says. And it's strange because it's all things that are real, and all the words are obviously real words, but she puts them together in such incredibly artistic ways. I'm not quite sure how to boil that down and work out what she's doing there, but it's fantastic, really.
We could play that game now, couldn't we? We could play what on earth is. I mean, it might deflate my episode next week a bit, but I think I think
it's a good primer for it. But before that, you spoke of Daniel Turfley, and I just want to prime the audience. Daniel Turfley is what you might call a very, very expert in protecting yourself from the 5G, and we've seen Lee has already done that. In a bit, maybe Raynard, since you've become an expert on Turfley's very, very expertise, could you maybe teach us all how to make protection?
I feel like an utter fool. I am the idiot that Sabrina believes me to be, because I did not bring any aluminium foil with me today.
That's okay. Do you have any tin foil? Do you have any tin foil?
I don't have any kind of foil, or you know what? I have some baking parchment downstairs.
How about aluminum foil?
Baking parchment.
Yeah,
No
I
such-
mean, I have it all downstairs, but I have to
British.
leave this station to
Well,
get it.
tell you what, Craig and I will make it at your
Okay.
Anyway, let's go back.
Hey.
Sorry to go back to where Craig. What?
This is an appropriate place to have a vote. So if you think color is spelt with a U, raise your hand.
I mean, I don't want to be part of this because I exist in a transatlantic world in which all spellings are valid.
Nonsense.
All
Put
right,
your hand.
I'll vote for you.
And tune is wrong. There we go. It's solved.
All right.
Oh.
So you're talking about Sabrina and her tag boards, and are there the real thing that you need to have? And I don't know if she does. She just has drawn them, but she should have yarn between the different points.
Yes, like in The Beautiful Mind. She doesn't
Yes.
have a her kind of her broadcast hub is a fairly messy sort of space, and I don't think she has the kind of camera equipment that would allow to focus on a face and a wall full of yarn connected things. But her mind
I
is.
got yarn. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah,
Oh,
you could do
yarn.
that.
Chris, you were knitting earlier.
Yeah.
All right.
You need these to get the things out your nose so the people can't find you. The trackers.
Yes.
The
So
walls just shut.
I'm searching for a video that. Oh, okay. I'm finding a video now with some Sabrina signs.
I loved how you referenced the beautiful mind. I think Sabrina's mind is truly beautiful.
Oh,
It's just the way
ever so much.
she has this wonderful vocabulary of words that are waiting to burst forth in splendor, and it's so good.
Okay, so now I've got a frame of Sabrina. Should I share my screen, MC Toon? Would that allow
Yes. Yeah.
everyone to see? Okay, so we're going to just give me a second while I oh, why is
I
this?
hope you're on
Okay.
5G.
Well, I do. It's just actually I'm being just a little bit incompetent because okay, right. Desktop one share. Okay, so I'm going to. Can everyone see the image that we have there?
It's not shared yet.
No.
Oh dear. Maybe what I'm doing, I'm gonna take a screenshot and I'll send it to you, MC Toon, and then.
Oh, you could share it. What? Give it a shot.
Okay, I don't know why it's not working.
Share screen.
Maybe somebody else say something for a change while I try and figure out this technology. Okay.
So I'd like to ask Craig a question.
42.
FTFE. I was talking to somebody earlier. I was being spoken at by somebody earlier, who showed me a wonderful picture of Lake Tahoe from NASA, and it's the whole, how can it be flat, curved, whatever it. But how can it be curved? Because it doesn't look curved from their photo.
Yeah, that's because they don't stand photos or anything really. Like we can show them constantly that water curves. We can show them measurements of water curving. We can point out that the horizon's there, and they just go, but it looks flat.
Indeed. Now, just so happens that this very same person used to be a bit of a Mark Steele fan, but is now saying that Mark Steele is talking nonsense.
Wow.
I thought, isn't it wonderful irony that you have the nonsense speaker calling out the nonsense speaker?
That's great.
So how does that work?
In the flat earth world especially, is that happens constantly. There is a constant flurf civil war. So the thing about people being stupid is it's very much like when you're dead, you're the only one who doesn't really know it's happened. You don't know you're stupid, and so you think anyone else that says anything contrary to what you know is fact is therefore stupid. And that means people that are stupid but also think other things to you. So yeah, watching the stupid argue amongst themselves is always fun.
Raynard, you should just be able to, if you have
I'm failing, and I use Zoom all the time, but for some reason, because maybe I'm not using my corporate account. Oh dear, I'm just going to send you a screenshot, and I'm going to post it to you via chat. Is that all right?
That works. Yeah.
And then we can play this exciting game together. It's a fun parlor game for children and families, and we're all going to have a good old time.
Well,
So-
while we're waiting for that, I mean, we could play other parlor games that have a typically British flavour.
What is that? What
Right,
are
the
those?
first one is with you now via a personal chat.
Too late.
If you could kindly put that on, and then whilst MC Toon is working on that bit of cyber intrigue, the difficult thing that we are
The
failing to
picture's
do.
So goofy.
This is a frame from one of Sabrina's videos.
Oh my
I haven't edited it in any other way other than to just basically, I've just picked a frame which has one of her signs and one of her face on it, so we can see a little bit of Sabrina. And this is very typical of the kind of thing
It is.
that
It's so
Sabrina likes to
crazy.
do.
Okay, you keep talking.
see,
I'm prepping it.
And Sabrina's, so what can I say that isn't going to spoil the joy when you've heard Sabrina's signs are all kind of a bit like this. They're all scrawled in red or colorful marker pen on white card, and instead of using PowerPoint or the Apple equivalent, or even if she were the programmer, the computer expert she claimed to be, what would you use? Xfig? Or,
Visio
Emacs.
would be
Emacs.
Emacs, yes, exactly. That's how
Emacs.
you would do.
Yeah,
All
Draw.io
real
now.
programmers.
Wait, hold
Right-
on.
right there,
People don't know what
presentations in-
Emacs is.
Don't tell them, for God's sakes.
Oh, okay.
If you learn what Emacs is, you become one of us.
Yes.
Exactly.
But suffice to say that real computer scientists look down on people who use like
Bye.
but I think it would be Vi plus some compiled tool. It would be like a LaTeX template for doing this kind of presentation. That would be a real computer scientist solution to organizing the information. But Sabrina prefers time-honored techniques of marker. Actually, I don't think she has any crayon-based ones. Whilst
Okay.
We should send us some.
Toon is
I'm
looking
gonna
for that,
make it.
It's
It's gonna
much
be
more high
full
tech
screen.
than crayons. These for the win.
I feel like we're okay.
This
While you're
is-
doing that, I'm going to try and dig up another Sabrina sign, and it's going to be, if I can find an even more hilarious one.
All right.
And it's literally, I'm going through my Sabrina archive right now, of which I have hundreds of Sabrina videos. It's just she records them faster than any human being could ever make any sense of this. I do need to.
To be fair, she hasn't got much else to do. It seems. Oh, this is beautiful.
Okay, we got it, have we?
Look
There it
at
is.
that.
Yeah, everybody can see
Right.
it now.
Poltergeist.
So should we have? So maybe this is one where the audience could
Does not have
also
a page.
say again, please.
It's actually an affront to academics in general that she doesn't have a PhD.
Well, I mean, the first thing I look at that is, and it's like 6G on 2.4 terahertz. How does that work?
It doesn't. It's so ridiculous.
What is
I mean,
what's
2.4 terahertz,
CERN,
excuse me if I'm
ITER,
wrong here.
tokamak?
That's far infrared, is it not?
Yeah, it's basically yes, right at the edge of optical.
So basically, what you're saying is we have a 6G low power area network at absolute zero, and nowhere else.
And I think that to my knowledge, there is no 6G spec published yet.
No, they're working on it. It's not published.
So I don't know.
Personally, I'm pulled to the psychic poltergeist sections.
That's the thing.
So,
that
yeah, but also,
Wait, wireless
notice that the-
tissue. What the hell is wireless tissue?
Where does it say that?
Top left.
What? Oh yeah.
Craig, but notice that
Wireless tissue engineering.
the psychic poltergeist section is only the middle box in a step that you can see that it's like the boxes are connected by arrows. So we start off at UAP UFO, then we go via psychic poltergeist, and then we end up, I don't know if that's the last line is an arrow, but it's Bigfoot and liminal wormholes, genomics and morphology.
What's the
I-
liminal
I-
wormhole?
Broke out just for a second there, but I'm pretty sure I heard you say Bigfoot liminal wormholes.
Yes, I did say
Yeah,
Bigfoot liminal wormholes. You heard correctly.
Can you explain this, please, Craig? What is the Bigfoot liminal wormhole?
Well, if you don't know, then obviously you're just dumb, and I can't explain it to you. It's just everyone knows what it is, right?
Well, you find that out on the CCNA course, surely.
It's
That's it.
I don't think any of this is
didn't do
covered
the course,
by. I mean,
so-
this is way beyond Cisco. If you know, if only the CCNA was this interesting. But I mean, I think this gives a very much a picture, and I'm glad we found this sign, because this is one of the more bonkers one that Sabrina comes out with. But her presentations are just hours of her holding up one sign after another, and just sort of ranting in a very kind of aggressive and confident way that basically the evil electronic engineers have done these terrible things to us, and if anybody is calling you crazy or taking you to a mental health facility and putting you on antipsychotic drugs, it's not the fault of your unfortunate neural biochemistry. It's all these evil electronic engineers who have done this to you. And she's presenting to an audience who I guess are mainly comprised of profoundly disturbed individuals. And they look at what she says and they think, oh my God,
Yes.
this is it. Finally, somebody
fair-
has explained how I feel.
I mean, what I take away from this is, if you look in the bottom left, once you've gone through the Bigfoot liminal wormhole, then all the electronic engineers are appearing to turn you into a Frenchman with a berry on his head, and you're sprouting bits of a Yagi antenna.
Oh, that
You
is.
tell me that's not a Yagi antenna.
Well, it is,
isn't
and
it?
it's a Frenchman.
It only works if you are on in the CERN super collider, or at least within that radius, from what I'm understanding. But only
Where's
if it's
CERN on this gone? Oh my God, there is CERN and ITER.
There is,
so.
yeah.
Oh
in
wow.
the
Oh, and that's like a Reaper drone to the right-hand side.
Well,
Is that
Sabrina
what it is?
does
That's
believe
what
that
it's
this
also.
is basically that is the
Absolutely.
function of drones. That we are all the victims of a kind of electronic drone warfare.
Oh, it's
So we
a
have
bit of
sprouting
Ethernet.
Yagi antennas to transmit to the drones.
Must be,
Well-
yeah. And there's a bit of Ethernet there, you see, just above a little guy with spangly
What's
bits in the circle.
Internet.
Okay, while we're talking, I'm just digging up a few more of these.
But we have to remember that she has experience in this. She used to work for an ISP, and she's a networking person, and she knows.
And she's wearing glasses, so she has to be smart.
Indeed,
Of course.
yes.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So the top.
I want to know why I can't
Alright,
get this stuff
so
from my eyes.
what's on the right side? It's an airplane looking thing. Beaming.
That's what I think the Reaper drone is.
Okay.
It is a drone. Yeah, definitely, that's a
okay,
drone.
3 rays, and then wavy lines, and then ether next line net somehow, which is wired, but somehow it's not wired in this drawing.
Why have we got a car on the right underneath the drone that appears to have a star or a cross above it? What's that all about?
Or is it a train on like a circular kids train track going round and round and round?
No, it's clearly indicating that the Pope's involved, right?
Yes,
Um,
and there's a
Oh,
little
that's
popey
the
cross there, and there's people in a little
yes.
house, in little bubbles.
Batgun.
Why all the people in bubbles apart from the bottom left one?
That's our bioelectric field, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Ah.
bioelectric field is an important part of Sabrina's mythology, that she believes that there was a human body part called the aura, which was somehow taken away from us 150 years ago. And that, I think it was, Chris had an interesting hypothesis as to what we think she might mean regarding that. So I shan't steal his thunder.
Well, I'm not going to see it because I can't remember. So, I mean,
Oh, okay. Well, I can
three
repeat what
buttons
you
down
said.
on
Then.
this
It's
stuff
very
by
clever.
now.
I
I've got
thought.
no idea.
So I think no, your hypothesis was that it coincides with the original discovery of Hertzian waves. That it was
Oh yes, that's right.
that it was approximately at the time when Marconi was doing his first experiments in the transmission of electromagnetic waves.
It's crazy. Both the 5G nutters and the flat Earth nutters are super confused by Marconi
And
Yeah.
Tesla.
He made radio
Tesla,
waves go.
Marconi.
and Tesla.
Sure.
Yes.
You see that one about the aura? Hang on. There's an anti-electricity cartoon here. Let me just find it.
Oh, that wonderful one.
Yeah,
Yep.
let me just paste it in the chat. Here you go.
It's
Tuna. Let me
superb, that is.
put this one up.
So she actually believes that some
That's got auras on it.
is it a physical part of your body she thinks was taken away
Yeah.
that now is gone forever.
Physical.
For everybody of every
No,
race.
I mean,
in the
I think
whole world.
she's clear that it's an electrical. She describes it as part of human anatomy, but it is, in her words, an electrical field And now this is the bit where I get confused, because she will simultaneously say that the aura was removed from us, as in we don't have it, but she'll also say that the aura is the means by which these malign actors are able to connect to us, to literally log on to our human bodies and effect some kind of control over us. So I don't quite understand this dichotomy, but then again, you know, it took a mind as great as Einstein or Niels Bohr to figure out that light could be both a particle and a wave. So maybe the human.
Hold on, it's important. You glossed over this really important thing that she thinks happens. She thinks the nameless, faceless they can remotely log on to a human.
Yes. Are we talking about like SSH, or do we have like a GUI?
Well,
I speaking personally, I'm command line. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I imagine it more like some kind of streaming protocol in which, in a passive state, these devices are continuously uploading the state of one's body to some kind of cloud. But when necessary, the malign electronic engineers are able to, they can log in, or they can somehow, there's some kind of so in one of the videos we found, she's describing software used by the Australian police, she claims, which are able to trigger a wide range of human bodily functions, from pain to orgasm at the touch of a button from an iPhone. And she holds up what looks like an iPhone SE 2020 model. So and she basically says that because these biosensors use standard IEEE documented protocols, there is, it's very easy for just, a police officer or somebody, some authority figure to instantly take control of another person's body. And it seems to be something that she profoundly believes. Now, if you want to annoy Sabrina, and I have tried this using throwaway accounts on my Telegram, try asking her, to describe go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, you tried to ask her to do something like Basic Edition. Would that annoy her?
Well, no. Just try asking her to. Well, what equipment would you need to scan this signal? Or could you, if you're worried about this, could you, if it's just a radio signal, why not just block the radio signal? If that were the case, then you could. If it were a radio signal on a known band, you could very trivially disrupt it if you didn't want this thing to affect you. There's cheap. If it's a 2.4 gigahertz signal, it's very easy to make a device.
2.4 terahertz, please?
Well, yeah, the 2.4 terahertz is even easier to jam, isn't it? You just warm something up slightly, and there's no,
or a piece of paper.
I just suddenly realised something about the protocols you've been talking about there, Sam. We're all talking about SSH. I think Tarina's gone and left a telnet port open, which is why so much shit into her.
Well, I think does the CCNA advise you not to do that? Is that something that, if she had been paying attention in this course, would she know better?
Back in the old days, you'd have an ACL.
Yeah, but the problem is she'll leave the root password as password 123.
Well, I think Sabrina's root password would be something far more obscure and unguessable, because she has definitely. She's definitely a weird one.
It's password 123 exclamation point, so nobody will guess it.
That's it. Nobody will get it.
The wireless tissue thing, because I've been thinking about that, and for a plan it makes sense, right? If everyone's got tissue that they wipe their ass with, and it's got this something in it that when you do that, it creates a piezoelectric field of some kind that helps you
for piezoelectric control.
I don't know about you, but all my tissue is entirely wireless. Thank you very much.
Mine have always been wireless. I didn't know this was not.
Just fantastic. So Raynard, I'm so impressed that you found this new source of wonder and intellect. But I wonder, there must be more.
There must be more, and I am always on the look for new cyber flirts, as I refer to them. I want, because there's definitely a circle of life to the people that I cover. Once they realize that they have more people watching them who are taking the piss than who genuinely appreciate their work, they tend to sort of modify their behavior a bit. They stop appearing on the camera. Like Mark Steele hasn't done a video to camera for about a month now. He just does these like kind of he points his camera at the screen and then talks about various things, or he points his camera at the Daily Mail and rants a bit about what he's upset about in the news today. And I think part of that is because between myself, MC Toon, and Mohammed Shafiq, we've been covering him so much now that we've changed his behavior. He's now literally afraid to show his face.
If only he was scared to speak his voice.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, but we can still work with that though, can't we?
Yes.
And I think it might. Sabrina has her fans are a little bit closer to her and more supportive of her than Mark's. Mark's he's, in honesty, he's a horrible person, and I don't even think his best friends like him all that much. But Sabrina has some close friends who sort of seem to give her a lot of support. And I don't think Sabrina is a grifter in the same sense that Mark Steele is. Like Mark Steele has all these kinds of money-making schemes where people can give him money or buy his merch. And Sabrina isn't that organized. She tends to I think she's just in it for she enjoys being the center of this sort of personality cult, even if she doesn't seem to exert any particular direct influence over her cult members. Or she's not a.
You know, you just can't deny the science that she's presenting here. I don't know about you. I personally can't debunk anything that
I can certainly deny that it's science.
And it's certainly not even wrong.
no,
Yes.
it's definitely
It qualifies for that. Yeah.
considered wrong.
But yes, but to answer your question though, I'm always desperate for a few more of these cyber flirts because I I'm sure if you're mainly covering the OG flat earthers, that does our Earth have an infinite supply of them? Because it's not just enough that they are flat earthers. They also have to be able to make videos somewhat competently and with enough of a frequency that I can take their material and react to it. So if Mark Steele wanted to completely shut me down, if Mark Steele wanted to shut me down, the easiest way he could do that would be by stopping making videos immediately. And if he completely disappeared from the internet, I would be dead. And now I've revealed. It's not like I've just revealed my weak spot, and I'm
now
I'm
he's going
daring
to
him.
do that. Then what?
Yeah,
Couldn't you just use the 5 you killed British? Yeah.
Randy, Raynard, he's currently deleting all of his videos from all of his channels.
That might be the worst revenge he could ever have on me. That our abusive codependent relationship would end, and I would be sobbing into my pillow. Where did he go? Leaving me only with Sabrina.
And the Joker,
company.
aren't you? Batman would be
No, Jester. The Jester. You've still got Sabrina, Jester, and what's his Tuftley, the guy?
Well, Daniel Turfley. Well, I don't think I do have Daniel Turfley because the only video I have of him was actually supplied by Mohammed Shafiq, and it was something from his archives from about 2 years ago. So there's no, as far as we're aware, Daniel Turfley was a brilliant light that faded very rapidly, and he may have had to spend some time in a secure mental health facility during his recuperation.
And
we don't actually know.
Broadmoor is all the richer
I imagine.
for it.
Okay, so I have seen the inside of British mental health facilities, and not Broadmoor because that's a high security mental health facility. But do you know what? Whether they're high security or not, they're not pretty places, and I wouldn't wish it even on Mark Steele. The British mental health facility British mental health system is tragically underfunded, and perhaps that is why we have so many people who are in desperate need of help, who are just simply wandering the streets, engaged in our care in the community process, which seems to be woefully inadequate to help certain people. So that's not a joke. I'm absolutely not joking about the tragic state of the British mental health system.
But in a way, it is quite nice that YouTube and Facebook gives them a community, an outlet, somewhere to be who they want to be.
It can be anyone they want to be, can't they?
Absolutely, yeah. Why not?
In the confines of their own channel. Although actually, YouTube does not permit that, because YouTube has Mark does have a YouTube channel, but I think he's frequently banned from.
Well, he's had lots, hasn't he?
Yeah. In fact, I know this is a fact because I once privately uploaded one of Mark Steele's videos, and within seconds of uploading it, I got what's the step before a strike on YouTube? A warning, I think. Yeah. So I got a warning. I was told if I upload anything, even I didn't put this live, but if I upload anything more, even approximately like the sort of thing that Mark Steele would say in his one of his less controversial videos, and in order to resume using YouTube, I had to take a test.
Yeah.
In vaccines, I would like to say I passed the test. I got 5 out of 5 because I know my basic virology and vaccine development. But I imagine that same test would be a bit of a struggle for Mark Steele because it involves the questions are quite nuanced and
I imagine difficult for Mark Steele is something like eating breakfast without digging his eye out with a spoon by accident.
Would that was so, but I can assure you both of his eyeballs are still attached by their optic nerves.
Well, he does wear those sunglasses all the time, so that could be just for protection.
It is true. Well, we actually found out why Mark Steele wears those sunglasses, and it's actually related to one of his newer passions, which is let's zoom out from this a little bit. Mark Steele has this fun habit of glomming on to whatever the latest thing that the truther movement is upset about. So obviously until COVID came along, he never said a damn thing about viruses and virology. And he reinvented himself as somebody who was an expert in the bioweapon, as he refers to it. And then
the other bioweapons, whether it's
I mean, he simultaneously claims that COVID is a bioweapon, but also the vaccines that protect us from COVID are also It's all a weapon. And in one of the clips that MC Toon so famously found, he says, "I'm a weapons expert, which means I can identify that everything is a weapon." He literally calls everything a weapon. So Mark Steele has recently attached himself to the anti-ULEZ protest. So for our American listeners, you may not be familiar with the ultra low emission zone. This is a scheme that operates in 13 British cities, the purpose of which is to basically, if you're going to drive through the city, you're going to pay some kind of surcharge. It's basically a daily tax if you operate a vehicle that has emissions that exceed a certain threshold. And I can, there are a lot of people who find that very annoying because they were previously allowed to drive their car, and now this new tax is preventing them from driving their car through the city. I can understand why somebody might be upset about that. Me, I don't feel upset. I drive an electric car specifically because I believe that kicking out smog from the back of a vehicle is a bad thing. That's just me. Call me crazy. That's my belief system. But Mark Steele takes the diametrically opposite view. He has attached himself to this campaign with hilarious consequences because he's now injecting his vaguely science fictional elements into what previously was a campaign just about people saying, I don't want to be taxed. And now he's coming along pointing to the cameras and saying, that's not a camera, mate. That's a multi-photon ionizing radiation emission device. And by inveigling himself into this anti-ULEZ campaign, he's making all of the anti-ULEZers look like prime idiots. And it's the anti-ULEZ movement is for a small proportion, it's becoming a gateway to other kinds of conspiracy trutherism. But the reverse is also happening.
This has repeated itself because the 5G nutters before Mark Steele, when he came along and started promoting that he was an expert in 5G, they're like, oh yes, come join us. And then they listen to him and they're like, wait a second, that guy's nuts. We don't want him with us. That's what's her name?
Oh yes, the Queen Bee of 5G truther. We've forgotten. It's been so long since we've covered her. I've completely forgotten her name. But
that's all we need to say.
That So yeah,
initially
the pattern keeps repeating itself, doesn't
initially she's like, oh, we've got an expert. How do you know he's an expert? He said he's an expert. That's it. So then they're like, wait a second, he's full of crap. He's ruining their reputation, making them look dumb. I'm like, look, you already look dumb with or without Mark. But it's the same old grift again.
And so yeah, Mark Steele really doesn't care how much damage he does to any of the movements that he tries to associate himself with. He will find whatever is animating the populace at any given time, and then he'll reinvent his brand of expertise to claim that he just so happens to be an expert in whatever it is that you're upset about, whether it's being made to take a vaccine or being made to pay a £20 surcharge if you want to drive a polluting diesel vehicle through the city centre. And
it's almost as though he is a Brigade 77 agent who goes and injects himself into these groups to try and discredit them with his nonsense.
You know what, though, you're not the first person to have claimed that there are a lot of people, let's say, so the people who are in the anti-ULEZ movement, they've wondered if Mark Steele is controlled opposition. The ULEZ people are saying the same thing right now. Why is this? He's turning up at our London anti-ULEZ protests. He's brought his band of crazies, so people like modern day Jester doesn't drive, right? His only mode of transport is a bicycle and the tube. Modern day Jester would probably be one of the beneficiaries of a ULEZ because he would be less likely to have his lungs polluted if when he drives through the city, rides through the city.
You're saying he can ride a bicycle?
He definitely does ride a bicycle.
In a straight line?
I don't know if he's passed his cycling proficiency test, but he definitely has a bicycle. In the latest videos we've seen, Mark brought along his friend, a chap called Matt Hardy, who is part of a group called the Blade Runners. And they are a bunch of people who publicize the fact that they vandalize the cameras and the network of equipment. So they will vandalize the cabinets and the cameras. They will literally climb up with a ladder, or they will deface the camera in another way, maybe squirting something at its lens, putting stickers on the lenses, and they promote the fact that it is them doing it. I can go on Matt Hardy's TikTok and see videos of him damaging a camera. And so these are the criminals, the crazies, the wackaloons, and then obvious grifters like Mark Steele and his brother. They're all there at the London anti-ULEZ protest. And it's clear what they're trying to do. They're trying to take over that movement, try to maneuver themselves to be the owners of that particular grift. And there's this hilarious moment in a video that Mark Steele posted on his own channel, which is Matt Hardy, the criminal vandal who destroys the cameras, being interviewed by a journalist from the London Times. And in one section he says, oh, well, you need to talk to Mark. Mark is the expert. Mark knows everything. And so we see him call her over. Sorry, Matt Hardy calls Mark Steele over to talk to this journalist. And you can just see the expression of disbelief on her face. She's a journalist from one of the from a well-respected institution, and she is not having any of Mark Steele's nonsense. But none of them are self-aware enough to realize just how ridiculous they sound, because they're used to playing to an audience of just utter ignoramuses.
So I think it's important for people to understand how, and I can say it, I'm not in England. What's he going to do to me? You can't boss me around. This is what I think Mark's grift is. I think that what he's done, he's set up a political campaign, a political organization, Save Us Now. And you can become a member of that for only $1 a month. You can also donate to it. And they have nominal people that then that run occasional campaigns. The political party probably spends all of nothing helping them. And then, but Mark is the CEO of or CTO of the campaign of the political.
Yeah, Mark is so Graham is the sort of the silent partner, and Graham, Mark is the public figure.
Graham is his twin brother. So Mark is then the contracted, advisor, technical advisor to the organization. And so he bills his time to the organization then at his hourly rate. That's why he does videos daily, so that he can rack up billable hours. And so that's how they turn these donations into money in their pocket. Similarly, this is maybe a little more difficult, a little more tenuous, but they have done several different funding campaigns on the legal stuff to sue, but then they don't actually do a whole lot of the suing. And so I think similarly, he is the advisor to the
he probably bills out his time as an expert witness to his own legal funding campaign. Let's hasten to the point. I have no evidence that that's true, but it would not surprise me were the evidence to show that it was true. And if we reflect that scam, how does it look from the outside? But basically, Mark and all these other people who operate in this way, they are fear scammers. So the idea is to make somebody afraid of something, and then you dangle some kind of solution to it. So whether it's membership of a political party that campaigns against the thing that you've just been told to fear, or a Shungite pyramid that is supposedly able to reflect the harmful radiation that you have just been told to fear, it still works in the same way. Make somebody afraid of something and then monetize that fear. That's what Mark Steele and other conspiracy fear scammers do.
All right, let me before we move on, let's take a pause here. I've got the results of the poll on how to spell color. So
at all. Obviously, it's set up completely fairly.
Yeah. So the question: how do you spell color? Answer: color, COLOR 21%, color, COLOR 9%, color, COLOR 6%, and winning with 62% is you can't boss me around. Obviously, none of them know that that's not one of the options of how to spell color. So I'm going to say that COLOR 1. So thank you very much.
Wrong?
Okay, I don't think so. I'm gonna have to disagree to agree.
I have a quick question. What is a hot pocket?
What's a hot pocket?
Is it like a savory Pop-Tart?
No, it's like when you stand next to a radiator and it's been turned on.
Wait, what?
I got some hand warmers.
Why are you asking?
Chemical hand warmers.
Why are you asking about hot pockets?
Well, it's because Stringer News for $2 said lawsuits and hot pockets, whichever comes first.
Okay, so hot pockets. So hot pocket is it's a joke here because they're just kind of gross, and if it's like if you can't be bothered to actually make real food, and if you can't be bothered to spend money on something that's somewhat easy to make on your own, you buy a hot pockets, and there's a comedian.
Hot pocket.
Yeah,
there's like pot noodles.
There's but it's in a pastry. So
hot noodles in a pastry. Yeah.
Well, no, there's no noodles. You would probably call it a pie of some sort.
We have many traditional pies in our ancient and historied country, like Cornish pasties.
Yeah.
Or
Wait. It's like a pasty, right? So it's like that. There's pastry all around the outside, and then inside is meat and savory things, right?
Here we go. This is what hot pocket. This is what they look like.
There you go.
Ooh,
there it is. They call that a 4-cheese pizza. Well, that'd be a calzone.
I mean, I've seen those things at Costco. That's
well, hot pockets is one of those amazing foods that can both be frozen and scalding hot that burns you.
It's the temperature of the sun in the middle, and somewhere in it, and absolutely frozen somewhere else. So
absolutely negative.
So for
the
reference,
wavelength of 2.4 gigahertz.
Terahertz.
Yes.
Terahertz. Something like that. So the flat earther, what's his name? Jake, the Jake Hole, lives in the basement underneath his mom's trailer house and eats hot pockets all the time when she cooks them for him. That's
how do you have a basement?
He did offer me a fight, and connected now that I'm going to America, and funnily enough, he stopped responding. I don't know.
What's that, Lee?
How do you have a basement under a trailer house?
It happens.
Lee, you're glossing over America's fine tradition of colonial style architecture, and basements are a common thing. In fact, they have far more basements than we have. Yeah.
No.
Do you have a basement?
Not under caravans, no.
Yeah, in Minnesota.
That's what I know they have.
In Minnesota,
basements.
hold on. In Minnesota, unless there's some sort of a specific thing you've done for an exception, it's mandatory to have a basement in all new housing.
Mandatory.
Because of the 5G.
No, actually, it's
partially
partially
actually.
partially because of tornadoes
And Putin.
and definitely Putin. But yeah, in the south part of the United States, that's much less common. So like Texas, they don't have basements. And in Florida, if they had basements, that would be a swimming pool. So let me read a few super chats here before, and then we'll move on to maybe we can get to the tutorial on hat building. Protection. Tim Lynch is a new member at Einstein's. Thank you for that. Slithery says, good evening, B's and G's, and be boys and girls, I think. We'll be here all night. I look forward to it, Slithery, all 12 hours. Dora Nku says, one person wearing tinfoil. Disappointment, Raynard.
No.
Dora loves Dell's no. Mr. E-Man has gifted 10 memberships. Thank you for that, Mr. E-Man. I did just update before this. I updated the outro, so the new 10 new people won't be in there, but everybody else is. Samuel Robotham, I was only kidding, says, wow, made a live show. Time for bed now. Well, good news, Samuel. You can watch the other end of this marathon. You are mopped, says, so he's a true believer in your opinion, Mike. I think he's talking about you, Raynard.
Well, it's nice to be believed in for once.
I believe it. Yes. Anyway, Tim Tully says, Mark Steele is what happens when you stare into the abyss for too long.
We did have Council of British
Untempered
people
schism.
from the Mark is not British. We did not accept him.
You didn't, but he's...
No, the council agreed. In fact, the other guys here, they were at the council meeting. It was a few days before Christmas, and we all agreed that not part of Britain.
He's excommunicated. Good idea.
Well, we've retroactively removed him from ever being part of Britain. So,
wise. Caucasian Sensation says, hi guys, I love every single one of you on screen. So there you go, Chris.
Wow,
that's
a lot of appreciation.
Chris, that makes 2.
I've got a perfect response for that. Sorry, wrong one.
Aaron Reese says it's a visual representation of the unified theory of absolute lunacy. That would be the what Sabrina had, I think he's referring to. Mr. E-Man says Mark Steele is weaponized stupidity. So true.
I mean, that certainly is consistent with the theory that he's somebody you put into a movement to totally destabilize it. So I think that's true.
Like what Nathan Oak flat Earth.
Yeah.
You mean like Jeremy Corbyn?
There's so many.
Piers Corbyn.
It's if Brigade 77 actually cared about this kind of stuff, they would do it by hiring Mark Steele. That's how they would do it.
Because he's good at it.
Yeah. All right. Throw the dwarf of the changed his name. Throw the dwarf, the Red Ranger says, I look forward to the Mind of Steel every week.
That's such a kind thing. I'm absolutely overblown by the kind things people say. Although, also thrilled in equal measure when somebody who hates my show offers an opinion as well, because that's even more exciting, isn't it? When you have some good hate mail in the comments.
Those get pinned. You pin those, right?
That's what we do. I've learned from the best. If somebody says something that is sort of hateful of the show, we don't ever delete comments. We pin them. We prize the craziest members to the top of the pile, and we put them where they can all be seen, and we allow people. You know what? The only tragedy of the pin of shame is that they almost never respond. They never follow up, do they?
Yes,
the truth is,
usually.
they'll say what
sometimes,
a dick I am, but
sometimes
you look at comments of mine, there'll be hundreds of people that are talking to the pin of shame. A lot of them take it as, oh, this is my platform. I'm just like, extra engagement, thanks.
Sometimes you have to.
Raynard, it's quite annoying when I watch one of your things, and then I feel like a week's gone, and I come to find another one, and they're all pending. So could you do two a week?
Yeah, Raynard. Yeah.
So I used to do 2 a week. I've just found that production schedule a little bit too hectic.
We don't care.
Yeah, so at the moment, I try to produce them about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of when I release them, and then that kind of gives me, somebody told me that 90% of success on YouTube is making thumbnails. Like, the video content be damned, it's just how compelling your thumbnail is. So that gives me time to make a thumbnail.
That's the first thing, is thumbnail description. That's the first hurdle to get over. The second hurdle is to get them to stay through long enough so that the algorithm says, yep, they stuck around long enough.
Oh yeah, so it's a thumbnail description, first 25 seconds.
Yep, and then it's
if
engagement.
Anyone who's fool enough to stick with me after 25 seconds, well, I've got you. My little pointy fingers are already dug into your shoulder, and you're being reeled into my trap. But anyone else, you've gotten away. You're now blissfully ignorant of Mark, Sabrina, Daniel, and modern day Jester, and the band of wackaloons. But you know what? To answer the question before, like, I'm desperate for some more. I'm worried that my supply of wackaloonery will run out, and then all I've got is the old episodes of Mark Steele's show that I've downloaded. Can you imagine?
There's thousands of them, though.
Well, we do. I mean, between us, we do have thousands of hours.
All right. So Timo Lynch makes a good point. Mark Steele is David Icke's evil twin. David Icke is not going away.
David Icke is not going away.
Oh, no.
But well, actually, so that I've long debated whether I should cover. So my kids have seen my stuff. They've said, Dad, why don't you cover anybody that anyone's heard of? Like, do Alex Jones or David Icke, because they're clearly more famous than Mark Steele. And I thought part of the fun of what I was doing was that I was taking people who were kind of obscure figures, and we were kind of growing together. We were all learning to love one another and become bigger stars of whatever it is our destiny is to become through our embrace of each other. Of course, which is nonsense. But that was my answer to my kids. But if I were to do content about David Icke, I mean, does he say things that are as funny as Mark Steele? I think the problem with David Icke is he's a little bit more self-aware, and he's a little bit more. He's much more slick in his presentation.
It's always fun. Anyway, don't worry about Mark Steele drying up, because just think about how dumb the average person is, and just remember that half of the world are dumber than that. There's always a supply of stupid for you. Do not worry. There will be someone.
I think Jesus did tell us something about this. Blessed are the something, and they'll always be with us. I don't know, but definitely they'll always be there.
They will always be with you.
It's a great psalm that says, talks about engaging with fools, and in one verse it says, "Don't engage with fools because they'll make you look stupid." And the other bit says you should engage with fools because they're stupid. So it just says that, Raynard, you need to choose your fools carefully.
I think that's it. Isn't that's the challenge we all face? To find the right kind of fools, and there's a certain to make the. I bet. Well, we can compare and contrast, but I imagine that whether it's a flurf or a 5G flurf, you need, first of all, they need to be able to make videos. Secondly, they need to have some kind of star power about them, something that makes them exciting to watch and comment over. And not everyone has that star power. And for Mark, his sparkle comes from his adamant desire to be recognized as the expert that everybody except he can see that he isn't. And that tension between what he wants people to think he is and the plain obvious fact is the sort of the engine that drives so much humor, I think, with Mark Steele. And I feel the same is true with Sabrina. She's a very similar kind of person, even if her emotional makeup is very different. But then when I see some of the flirts, they have a very sort of there's a different kind of psychopathology going on there. Who is the other Mark that we talked about?
Mark Sargent.
Mark, was that the guy? We wanted to do a Mark-off, compare whether my Mark was worse than your Mark.
Yes.
We've never got round to making that episode.
Mark Sargent is one of the best people to attack because his stupidity is, he just doesn't realize that it's there. Like when he did this advert.
Flat Earth expert Mark Sargent thinks the moon landing was a hoax.
Technically, the moon itself is a hoax.
Right, but betting with Sportsbet's new iPhone app?
I could do this standing on my head.
Thanks, Gravity. Sportsbet's new iPhone.
Like, he did not realize they were mocking him. Like, there's interviews where he's talked about it, and he genuinely didn't know what was going on. And even afterwards, he just thought he was a star of an advert. He didn't realize they were taking the mick out of him.
Okay, all right. Let me catch up on a few more things here. PG Tony says, are we certain there is not a punctuation issue here? Maybe it's Mark Steele is saying, I'm a weapon, comma, expert. You see?
I'm fairly sure that is not what Mark Steele means. But you know what? I think in the spirit of scientific inquiry, one should always be open to other possibilities. Even somebody who has studied Mark Steele as hard as we have may have overlooked. So I thank you, commentator, for that thought.
Truly the way a scientist thinks. Speaking of commentator, PhD Tony will be joining us in part 5 of this 6-part marathon to present his Smarty Pants presentation.
Well, it's good to have some real people on your stream.
It is, yeah. He has a PhD, therefore he's
not a real person unless you have a PhD.
Yeah. Yeah. So we mentioned it. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So PhD, that's very interesting. So there's lots of people in this sort of this space who claim various qualifications. So Mark Steele, sometimes he's a PhD, sometimes he's a weapons expert. I'm sure he's been claimed as a nuclear expert as well. And
well, he has
always bizarre
opined about techniques of dealing with nuclear spent nuclear fuel. He in one episode he gave a lecture to other doting admirers on the how 5G is going to harm the nuclear reprocessing industry. That was that might have been my episode 3 of Mind of Steel.
And then there's the old guy whose name
Barry Trower.
Barry
Trower. And he's been a PhD, even not PhD, even a PhD, even not a PhD. And it's
not a PhD, by the way. Not.
No, indeed. Absolutely not. But I find it's bizarre how a lot of these people try and claim these, or other people claim on their behalf, these qualifications. And the guy who came up with that whole 5G will blow up nuclear power station because it's going to disrupt the molecules and concrete, etc. Isn't it? He is the I think he's a Canadian guy, isn't he? I've forgotten his name as well.
I mean,
he claims some sort of qualification as well.
There was a number of sort of early days of the 5G truther movement. So there was a video that featured it was just a soundtrack put to some kind of abstract visuals, and there was a chap in the video who claimed to be a former research executive who had worked for Vodafone,
right.
and he was quickly outed as a youth pastor involved with a whole load of kind of strange, dodgy deals, working out of St. Albans, which is a city about 25 miles north of London. And his closest brush with Vodafone, well, he had worked briefly as a sales assistant in one of their stores.
Yeah,
and that's literally
sort, right?
Yeah, I have. Wait, I can get his name in my Flurf archive, but it matters not at this
Yeah,
point.
it doesn't
The,
matter.
the fact is that they all and well actually this became a bit of an issue because there have been a series of actual legal cases in which anti-5G people needed expert witnesses, and of course Mark Steele was right out. By the time that legal action against 5G came along, which concluded in March of this year, they were well on to that. Even those 5G nutters were outraged by Mark Steele's nuttiness, and they wouldn't have anything to do with him, which was a sort of quite a bit of comedy because Mark Steele grumbled that they lost because he wasn't involved with their case. And we know, because we've read the papers, we know that they didn't need Mark Steele to come out with an entirely incomprehensible load of legal and scientific gibberish. They were perfectly capable of doing that without him. But yeah, so who do you get as your expert in an actual court case?
Yeah.
Well, so they do find a few people, but there's a very rapid burnout of these sorts of fringe figures. So the legal action against 5G required it was Dr. Andrew Tressida, who was a Cornish doctor who, despite being he's just a GP, he didn't have any expertise or relevant background in radio
GP
sciences.
to Americans.
Oh, GP, general practitioner. So family doctor, I suppose, is what you would call them in America. The person that you would see when maybe you've injured yourself or you have some sniffle or you think you might be unwell. He is the first line of the medical system. So Andrew Tressida runs a strange, holistic. He's a real doctor, but from what I can gather, the kind of practice he runs is very idiosyncratic and not at all like normal NHS medicine, and he was the one. He was one of the experts that they had in the legal action against 5G case. There was they had also got
the guy from
a professor,
Cork.
a professor of business IT from Cork University. So Cork is a town in the Republic of Ireland, and this was a case brought in England. So despite being adjacent to islands, that's a different country. So they could find nobody in the UK who was willing to speak on this, and they could find nobody who had actual relevant qualifications. And the paper that he produced, this sort of summary of research, it was instantly dismissed by the courts for having no, I guess, qualification relevance. He wasn't an expert. You can't bring somebody in as an expert witness to a case if their field of expertise has literally nothing to do with what the matter of the case is. And that's always been the problem anytime the 5G nutters have tried to achieve anything.
So what do they do?
What do they do? They lose. They raise money. So maybe we can recap the story. So legal action against 5G was something that MC Toon covered, and I can claim to have provided some small assistance with this very exciting coverage. I think it began in 2021 in about October, and it was a court case that promised great things to the anti-5G community. It was advertised in a Facebook group called Halt 5G in England and Ireland. Oh, sorry, in the UK and Ireland. And it was run by the lady whose name we forgot previously, Sally Bear.
Sally Bear.
That was her name. Yeah. And so she is the one we often refer to as the Queen Bee of 5G truthers, because of Queen Bee of 5G concern trolls. That's it. She was sort of the person who's most often associated with the phrase, but think of the children, at least in 5G circles, because she is a naturopathic nutritionist who was adamant that the new 5G technology is basically incinerating our children's brains. And she was the one prepared to do something about it. And what she did was form a fairly successful Facebook community and then leverage that to publicize a court case which promised to bring the end of 5G. And so MC Toon and I did a bit of digging into exactly who these people were and what they were claiming. So the big headline of this case is that they were going to be represented by a legal superstar. You know what? I can't remember what was his name.
Michael Mansfield.
Michael Mansfield QC.
It's
So
always Michael Mansfield.
he's now Michael Mansfield KC, but he's a very famous British lawyer who often takes on some very strange cases. And from the perspective of the 5G people, this was exciting news because this was the closest they'd ever had to some real, proper, high-up lawyer. I mean, you know what? To translate this to America, it's like learning that Rudy Giuliani is going to take your case. It's someone who's perhaps now so far outside the mainstream, whose reputation may have been so utterly sullied by recent events that nobody could take him seriously. But you know, if you
so Raynard, did he actually represent them? Was that
yes, he did.
Real?
They had their days in court. It was it was in.
It's generous saying that he represented them. It was the firm that he was in, but it was.
Oh no, that's not true. No, he represented. He really actually did. He turned up, and I think he did 2 consecutive days in court. And from what I can gather, he is a skilled court operative. He's not a fake barrister. He is a real person.
Yeah, he's
and his
real.
reputation.
And money to represent you. He doesn't care what it is. He'll represent you if you've got the money.
Do you know? The impression I got from reading the notes was that, I think the whole thing is, as you suggest, it's a kind of a scam because all of the lawyers involved with this knew going into this that they had zero chance of winning. And when we did the videos about legal action against 5G, we compared this to the scam at the center of that film, The Producers. So, do you all know the film The Producers? So the characters realize that they can make more money by bringing a failed production. And we wondered if it was the same with these lawyers, that actually, if you raise money knowing that you're going to lose and lose spectacularly, well, then you don't really need to do all that much work. You just bank a whole load of pure profit. So for sure, they did. Michael Mansfield. I actually was waiting outside the Royal Courts of Justice, and I interviewed a bunch of these people. And I briefly met Michael Mansfield QC and the plaintiffs. I saw them do their little speech, and then they went into the Royal Courts of Justice, and then I hung around for a while with the 5G activists who were, there to hopefully send a signal to the judge. Well, what they didn't know is that the judges never go through the front entrance of the Royal Courts of Justice. So precisely nobody who mattered saw their protest except me. And so yeah, what do they do? Well, the summary of it was that the judge found their argument completely implausible. They concluded that the government was entirely entitled to rely on the technical advice of their own government experts, and that however well argued Michael Mansfield's arguments were, and the so-called expert from Cork, that actually none of that mattered a hoot, because a government has a right to determine the truth for themselves, and the nearly £100,000 that I think do you remember how much it was they raised in the end?
It was over 100,000. So
it might have been around 120, I think, in the
yeah.
end, which is quite a lot of money, given that the whole thing was a complete fool's errand.
Because they didn't have Sleeping Warrior as their lawyer, right? I mean, if they just Anthony Riley, then they would have been absolutely fine.
Sleeping Warrior is a flat earther that fancies himself to be a lawyer.
Is he a British lawyer?
Yep. Well, lawyer.
He probably would have taken their case.
Understand.
There was a sort of funny
sheriff. Who's that self-appointed sheriff lady?
The one who tried to take over Edinburgh Castle, that one, the American lady.
And didn't she also try and take over? No, she tried to take over, I think, Exeter Council or something like that. They were going to YouTube it live, but she's the self-appointed sheriff.
Well, yeah. See, they obviously had the wrong people involved with this campaign, and I think that's the perennial tragedy of of anti-5G truth campaigning is, by definition, you have the wrong. Anyone willing to represent your case is, by definition, the wrong person, isn't it? Because
yes. Okay.
nobody who has any technical ability is ever going to touch you. In fact, we also had a while we're talking about the sort of legal lols, one of the Mind of Steel episodes featured Mark Steele and his on again, off again girlfriend Kate Shemirani
Girlfriend
traveling to London
Oh,
to seek legal advice, because at the time Kate Shemirani was profoundly upset that she had been silenced. She had been cancelled by big media. Actually, what had happened is she had been sacked from her position in a local radio station in the south of England because she had repeatedly promoted crack cancer remedies on her radio show, which is actually illegal in the UK. You cannot claim to have fake cures for cancer or promote things as if they were cures for cancer that might actually distract people from standard, more medically tried and true methods. And Kate Shemirani, who is herself a cancer survivor, believes that she knows more about oncology than the actual oncologist. And which, I mean, there's
how was it that how did she beat cancer?
Well, I suspect it was a combination of being wealthy enough to afford private medicine, which included all the normal oncologist stuff.
Yes.
But then if you watch her video in which she describes how she beat cancer, she actually lists, she ad-libs for 5 minutes, listing all kinds of weird, wacky alt-med stuff that she did, like weird poultices and herbal wraps and, how many
daily
pureed
coffee enemas.
Yeah, pureed
I'm sure one
spinach,
thing
nasal
pipes
drips
and bottoms.
Yeah, so she did literally everything, but she gave none of the credit to the fact that she probably had a well-tested chemotherapy regime plus surgery, and all the credit to the wacky stuff that she invented for herself. That's so based on a sample of precisely one, she believes that she knows more than the oncologist. Hence, being in perfect company, I think, for Mark Steele, who believes himself to be far more educated than the best electronic engineers.
Now, speaking of education, it's worth pointing out that he does have a degree in psychology.
He does, yeah.
Now,
Can I say just a second here, Lee? Craig needs to pop out. He's going to go debate Jaren on Jaren's channel. And will you be live streaming on your channel as well?
Yes, I will. I will be live streaming on my channel.
All right, so people, you'll have a difficult decision to make. Should you have Craig in Chrome and me in Firefox, or Craig in Firefox and me in Chrome? That's your decision you'll have to make. But anyway, Craig, good luck. You'll need
I'd like to protest about the lack of Mozilla options here.
Yeah.
Do you mean the original Netscape Navigator?
I use NCSA Mosaic, please.
Oh, now you're showing your age too.
Or you could always pause MC2, and once mine's finished, just have it in 1.5 speed and catch up while he's still live.
All valid options. Thanks for popping by, Craig. Good luck.
Guys,
I
enjoy.
I hope we find out if the Earth is a globe or not, Craig.
I know. I'm excited as well. I mean, maybe this will be the time finally where we get some flat Earth evidence.
Might be it.
Do let me know. I'd love to find out.
Yeah.
I want to be sure.
Right.
So qualifications. So Mark does have a degree in psychology. It turns out that he did for one of the schemes they have for inmates to gain qualifications, which I think is a great idea. So I've been doing some psychology as well recently. I've been reading a great book called Influence, which is about how you can influence people to do what you want to do. And people who do this are called, I think it's conformance professionals. So they want you to conform to what you want them to do. And of course, it's used in sales and advertising, all these sorts of things. And I've been reading this book and a few other books around the subject. And a lot of what Mark does, such as calling people idiots. So he'll do a video and he'll say, look at these idiots who don't think this is a weapon. And that creates certain states of mind in people who start to believe what he says. And they say, well, I don't want to be an idiot. I want to be clever like Mark. And all the little things he does, the bits of psychology he uses, I think he gets that from his what he learned in his psychology degree. So what he's doing is, I find it quite disturbing because it isn't just him saying these things. I think a lot of it is quite prescribed and is quite deliberate in how he presents it and how he works these people, which I think, I think it's kind of worrying, really.
He's using
That's
his
really
degree,
interesting.
actually. I think, yeah.
So recently, there's been a bit of a spat amongst the anti-ULEZ people. So we had one anti-ULEZ protester that disagrees with Mark taking over his movement, making videos against Mark Steele. And then Mark's response was demanding that this person denounce Satan and all his works. So Mark ran a number of videos on his Telegram channel saying, why is it that this other person, this other truther who has dared to disagree with Mark, has not yet renounced Satan and all of Satan's works? Which kind of puts this other guy in a bit of a quandary because, well, so your choice is, well, either I ignore this, in which case Mark can keep saying, why haven't you denounced Satan? You denounce Satan, in which case, well, okay, now you're playing by Mark's rules. You could say something like, "Oh, I don't think Satan exists," but then you've allowed Mark to completely derail the conversation.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about ULEZ and cameras and taxation anymore. We're talking about what Mark Steele wants to talk about, which I think that's an example of what Lee is saying. It's a way of, that's how Mark Steele will control the narrative within his own movement by being more bombastic and putting these sort of roadblocks in the way of any kind of sensible conversation.
For the record, I denounce Satan and all his works, and also denounce Mark and all his works.
There you go.
Okay, the response was that someone made was, well, why, before asking other members of the truth movement to denounce Satan, why Mark should perhaps denounce shooting teenage girls in the face.
There you go.
Or maybe lying about his credentials, lying about being a weapons expert when he clearly is not a weapons expert. That would be a good thing to, if you were trying to get good with the world, and maybe the Almighty, should your frame of reference include such a being, then, perhaps that would give you the moral clarity from which you could piously demand other people denounce certain metaphysical entities. At least that's the way I see it. But then, I'm one of those atheist nut jobs, as we're often referred to, that don't harbour such belief.
I think Mark's only brushed on the subject of the shooting once, and I think it was either with you, Raynard, or you, Mr. Toon, in some sort of interaction somewhere. Maybe it was your famous one, Mr. Toon, and you mentioned that, and you just said, "Oh, you're going to bring that up, are you?" Haven't it moved on?
Yes.
Wasn't that the one where he crashed the discussion we were having with that weird guy from Manchester?
You mean Big Cy Parry?
No, it's the other one. Joel somebody or other.
Yeah,
he
said he'd bring. Yeah, that's the one.
He called him on the phone.
He's feeding him stuff in the background.
Called Mark Steele on the phone. Mark wasn't on the show, but Joel was getting his talking points from Mark live.
Yeah.
But he had no idea how to present it.
No.
Hey, I have a question. Chris, what's your background in radio frequency stuff? You got?
I know lots of frequencies.
Yeah.
Lots of
Does radio frequency refract in different mediums?
Ooh, now that I could go on for hours about that. It depends on the frequency.
Yeah, but some
will, some won't. You can get refraction in the atmosphere. You can also get reflection off ionized parts of the atmosphere. So it all depends on the frequency and the sunspot cycle and the time of day. It doesn't depend that much on the moon cycle. It does depend on
any number of things will cause radio frequency, which is the entire range of frequencies from 0 to basically 0 to ultra or infrared. Right.
It becomes more predictable and more sensible the higher frequency you go to a certain extent.
Yep. Because we've We've got a flat earther in the chat right now who adamantly declares that radio frequencies, specifically FM frequencies, absolutely cannot refract in the atmosphere.
Okay, well, if you want to look at that,
I'd like
take
to
an
ask him a
FM
question.
frequency. I've been in situations before in North Yorkshire where I've been in the car, and we're talking about FM amateur radio, so that's 2 meters, about 144 megs.
He's talking just about commercial. He has no clue about
Yeah,
anything
it's
other than
just above.
just American FM radio that you can get in your car. That's the only
Well,
thing.
it's just above those.
Yeah.
It's just above that sort of frequency.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the top of a hill, I can talk to somebody in France because it travels in a duct in the troposphere.
Yeah.
And it refracts through that duct like a giant optical fiber. If I move down in altitude, maybe 100 meters, no chance.
There you
So
go.
it's easily done and demonstrable.
So I'd like to ask the flat earther, how far away is the moon? Because I have personally measured how far away the moon is by bouncing a signal off the moon and receiving it, and timing how long it took to get from me to the moon and back again.
Oh.
And I've asked a few flirts this question, and I presented my evidence, and I shown them the websites and the videos of people doing this, and they say, of course, but have you personally done it? It's, well, yes, I have quite a few times, and then they go away.
Yeah.
Lee, what equipment would you need to bounce a signal off the moon? What kind of signal works best?
An antenna. I didn't have access to much of the first time. I had a couple of 80-element Yagis at 144 megahertz or so. I had a fairly powerful amplifier, which might have been slightly illegal in the UK at the time.
I got one here.
Because the scale was wrong, so I accidentally turned it up a bit too much. And receiver. So I send a Morse code signal, which is like dit, and then it goes back to it. Chris has exactly what you need. In fact, I have one of those exact devices. And you go to the moon, bounces back, and you receive it. And I had an oscilloscope, and I just because it was back in the day, I didn't have anything clever. I actually took a picture of the oscilloscope with a Polaroid camera, just so I could record it.
So for reference, and so Carl Christensen says FM and AM are forms of modulation. Yes, exactly. But John is completely unaware that the F in FM stands for frequency and the M in FM stands for modulation. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know what that means. He's only, when I made it clear earlier, he only is talking about what an American can tune in their car radio. Those specific frequencies from about 88 megahertz to 108, 109 megahertz, right in there. That's it. That's all you understand.
Yeah, indeed. You can go to parts of the UK, and if the conditions are right, you can tune your FM radio in, and you'll hear French radio.
Yeah. And he says, so then again, right, he's just so dumb. He says, reception distances for FM stations can go to 3,040 miles. It doesn't refract. How does he say it doesn't refract? What evidence is there that it doesn't refract? Exactly none. He has nothing.
I mean, what I'm kind of curious is, so we know that optical radiation can refract, but if one believes that FM band, or let's say car radio band FM does not refract, presumably there would be some kind of cutoff between the does and does not refract.
Well,
but I wonder where
Mark,
you think that.
What did Mark call the remember that antenna? I don't think I have it. What did he say? It was a lens.
He referred to the blob of conformal coating as a
dielectric lens.
Dielectric lens. Dielectric lens.
They do exist. Dielectric lens radio antennas exist. They use refraction to focus the radio wave, and it can work at any frequency range. It works better at higher frequencies because you don't need such a large lens. At 900 megahertz, the lens is about this big, is the smallest. That's practical. At 100 megahertz, you're going to be sitting about 10 times as big. But it in fact does refract. It is photons, just like everything else. It refracts.
Funny that's a battle that Mark Steele seems to have run away from. He no longer seems to wish to have that argument with you. Although he did, I think, recently repost one of his videos where
he did, yes, yeah.
He said something along the lines of, anyone calling that a dipole antenna? whilst holding up a monopole antenna.
Yes.
So this was
Monopole.
again, I think to echo Lee's point, one of the ways that sort of Mark Steele tries to win an argument is by arguing against a point that MC Toon didn't actually make. So so he
standard straw man, yeah.
Claims without any evidence that MC Toon called the tiny little monopole antenna in the Harvard the little radio control system for the lampposts anything other than just a cheap ass monopole antenna with a blob of conformal coating on the end. Mark Steele had to claim that MC Toon said something else, and then proceeded to argue against the thing that Mark Steele didn't say. Sorry, MC Toon didn't say.
Yeah.
Well, Mark should probably argue against the things he said as well and give him half a chance. I mean, fair. I did have a little aside on that I drew because I knew we were getting the subject of antennas. I came up with a series of screws that Mark has found in his equipment, by the way. Are you all ready for this? Screws.
Right.
Hold on. I got to make it larger.
Enhance.
And there it is. Flathead, hex head, Phillips head, and dick head. There it is.
So that you've missed out Posidrive, one of my personal favorites.
It's just a variation of Phillips. I mean, it's the same as Jizz as well.
Nice. Let's keep this family friendly.
Are you saying there's something wrong with the Japan industrial standard?
Yeah. Let me catch. I got a couple more here to catch up on. We mentioned it earlier, but lawsuits and hot pockets, whichever comes first, from Stringer News 1. Heat Shield says if you cook hot pockets by leaning them up against your 5G router, you won't end up with that frozen spot.
I mean, this is referencing a true thing, though, wasn't it? Because was it not McDonald's who were famously sued because of the explosive internal temperature of their apple pie products, which I guess.
Oh yeah, they're dangerous.
I don't even know if they still.
Nice.
I don't recall. Do they still sell them? But
yes, every Christmas.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean they are
The cinnamon
famously.
ones are particularly delicious.
I mean, it's a guilty pleasure for me as well.
I've never eaten one of their pies.
Well, imagine just sort of biting into actual molten lava, and sort of 300 Celsius.
Yeah, and then the roof of your mouth is just tattered for days.
Because of course it has a sort of sticky quality that is slightly adhesive.
You can't get it off.
So, and if you try and brush it away with the tip of your tongue, you will suffer if you don't wait the requisite amount of time before eating that McDonald's apple pie. But maybe some pain is worth it. And maybe, you know what, I haven't eaten a mince pie this Christmas, so maybe that shall be my treat if they sell it.
Mince pie.
Oh, are you unaware of this important British culinary tradition?
It's not sweet, correct?
It is sweet. Yeah, it contains.
Sweet, yes.
Does not. The name might suggest that it's a minced meat pie, but it is nothing of the sort. It's basically.
It contains minced meat, but doesn't contain meat.
Yeah, minced meat for some reason is the British term for a mixture of sort of currants, raisins, candied apple peels, and sort of just densely packed preserved fruit.
There's no meat in it.
There is no meat in it, but then
it's the meat on its own.
We've come conversationally full circle now, haven't we? This is the pie equivalent of betwixt, where it is a load of raisins betwixt a layer of pastry and another layer of pastry,
and spices. Don't forget the spices.
And spices, yes, and possibly some brandy type flavoring. Although in a supermarket mince pie, don't expect any kind of alcohol content to be remaining there.
All right, I swear, this Jonathan Flurf is mentally retarded, full on mentally retarded, because he just asked. He wants me to ask you, and if 88 to 108 megahertz bounces off the ionosphere. I specifically addressed this today on Facebook. We are not talking. He thinks that bouncing off the ionosphere is refraction, not understanding there's a difference between refraction and reflection. And as Chris already mentioned, it can go through the troposphere. You can get tropospheric ducting, something completely outside of Jonathan's understanding. The expert here has said that Jonathan, who's 19 or 20 years old, has exactly zero understanding of this topic.
Well, hold on. Let's encourage Jonathan to make his own YouTube channel, and then I will have some.
But all he
Absolutely.
does is parrot other people's stuff. He's just a thief. He's purely a thief.
He sounds like my sort of person. Sounds like somebody that the Mind of Steel channel. Does Jonathan? Has he expressed an opinion about Mark Steele or Sabrina or any of?
No, not to my knowledge. But I've looked briefly at this one here. I've briefly looked at his videos, and it's not him to my knowledge on there. It's just him reposting other people's stuff.
Oh, okay, so, that's very disappointing. Go ahead. Jonathan.
Go ahead, so what we've got on here is 88 to 108 megahertz can only go perfectly straight line of sight. Okay, so if that's the case, how can you receive it inside a building when you can't see the antenna?
Oh, slam dunk.
It reflects off other things like other buildings.
Well, and his citation is he asked an AI chatbot. That's his citation.
He should pay the money for ChatGPT 4. It might give slightly better answers.
I don't know. No. Here's the answer. ChatGPT, no AI, is a citation. You need to actually go to the source. That's just a way to summarize things. Or the other thing that's very important to remember about chatbots, it is designed to tell you what you tell it to tell you.
Have we controlled for the possibility that Jonathan is actually Mark Steele, who has successfully disrailed this conversation by saying a few crazy things?
Jonathan could be a chatbot. He could be a chatbot himself. That somehow got access to produce content instead of just interact. So, all right, I don't want to get too far ahead. I got a couple more things because we've got 12 minutes left. Al Trucker says, I tried talking to people who insisted that they were not flurfs, but geometry on a sphere isn't possible. Yes, so the new trend for flurfs is to declare that they don't think that the Earth is flat, but they just know that the Earth is not a globe. Of course, you can find them also still saying that they think the Earth is flat. So, Second Best Bob says that color is spelt COLOUR. Strange. Timo Lynch says Mark Steele is David Icke's evil twin.
That's a little bit too. You know what? Mark Steele would only wish that, right? Mark Steele would wish he had David Icke level attention in the general media. He's like David Icke miniaturized through the Honey I Shrunk the Kids Ray.
Tim Davidson says Steele will never not be dumb.
Okay, double negative, like it.
So this is a good one. Tim Davidson says your future doctor is cheating on his tests right now.
We can't rule it out, can we?
We can't.
That's profound.
Yeah. Timo Lynch comes again and says, for other unhinged content, Alexander Unzicker.
Wait, I'm gonna
Alexander
Unzicker. UNZICKER.
No, there's no Z. It's a Z.
Oh.
No, it's a Z.
Well, I'm going to just put out. If anybody has some 5G flirfs for me, if you hop over to my YouTube channel, there's an email address in the about bit right at the top. Send me the names of the flirfs that you need me to look at, and I look at them all. Sometimes I don't always reply, but there's a place in my heart for every single one of them.
But the list would be long and distinguished because there's so many.
5G flurf is not literally a flat earther, but somebody that is a nutter. The flurf is
somebody who applies the same scientific methodology that might lead you to becoming a flurf, but they tend to be operative in the sort of theories concerning electromagnetism rather than theories about geography.
Well, I think Jonathan Fleming would be one to start with on that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. We've got Lord Illuminous Pooh. He's a lord. Do not take his words seriously.
I don't see it is in Who's Who though.
Says I have a PhD in skeptology. from Abide University, as well as a pop culture studies, rockology, and comedic science.
Was that scatology?
Nope, skeptology.
Oh.
Yes, I did how to be a
Scafology
skeptic.
is the science of putting things up against the side of buildings, right? I mean, you're just checking.
Scathology? I thought that's a science of poo.
Scaffoldology? No. Liquid Flame says, thank you all for another year of fun fighting misinformation and stupidity. I appreciate what you all do. It isn't trivial. Happy holidays and happy new year. And then the Sun Express says, one of the panelists is in Russia right now.
Oh, which one of us is it? I mean, it could have been FTFE.
Rasputin, the Russian
Sorry.
queen.
We
Rasputin,
shan't
come here,
say.
please. Where's that cat?
All right.
I mean, I hate it when someone begins with an assertion then doesn't follow through. If you're going to make a bold claim like that, at least have the courage, sir or madam, to say which one of us you feel is transmitting from a bunker outside of Moscow or whatever it is that the hell we're supposed to be doing. I just want a sense of.
You have to be speaking as Russian.
Well,
you are talking from Russia.
I learned my English at one of Moscow's finest colleges, and you would never know that.
What, Cambridge?
Yes.
That's it. What is that a thing?
That's very subtle.
I don't know.
Well, talk about the Cambridge Ring of Spies. Yes, it's the thing.
Well, I mean, I think there's the sort of the British universities and London is famously a playground for the children of oligarchs. That none of them particularly.
Isn't it mostly owned by oligarchs?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're basically the London property market is so deeply enmeshed in, we might generously say, corrupt foreign money that without that constant injection of money into our economy, I think London might fall apart. I won't be the first person to say that it's a kind of a Ponzi scheme, basically funded by oil sheikhs and Russian oligarchs.
But it's quite nice because it means that Russia will never nuke us.
No, exactly. Yes, that's true. Yeah, that we have the best kind of international safety that could ever be. I mean, that if they bombed us, they'd be bombing themselves. They'd be bombing their kids because none of their kids live in Russia anymore.
No, they live in London.
Yeah.
Oh, the Sun Express has declared, has come through for you, Raynard. It says Russia is constantly on fire lately. And who's got the fire on screen?
Ukraine.
Lee.
So that
is your real name.
It's exactly
Comrade Lee.
It's exactly as Mark Steele always claims, that the cultist Illuminati cannot help but to provide symbols that betray their secret identity and motives.
I have lots of symbology.
Here,
like
look, that avocado on your upper chest,
and the 1, 2, the 5 points of Satan here on the star.
Yes. Is it a starfish, or is it a star, or is it a pentagram?
The pagan tree here.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some pizza here somewhere.
Well, if there was, then we'd
Mark
know
still loves
precisely what you were up to, which is why I keep my background entirely nondescript, so nobody knows.
They don't know.
Yeah, except Mark Steele would find some way of knowing.
Oh, certainly. Yeah,
he always
knows
knows.
Something. So, all right, we are 5 minutes till the next stream, and I need to do my own stream off stream before the next stream. So let's wrap it up. Let's start with Chris. Thank you very much. What do you got for us as we head out?
I've got a little game for people to play. If you might take a couple of minutes of my time.
What?
Ooh.
I've got a game. Think of a number between 1 and 6.
Pi.
You can all do this.
Okay, pi.
An integer, you mean?
An integer between 1 and 6. Yes.
Okay.
Between inclusive or exclusive?
Yeah, come on, be precise.
Inclusive, definitely.
Inclusive. Okay, so 2, 4, or 5.
Oh, are we allowed to? Oh, so hold on.
And then
exclusive. Oh, all right. 3.
I chose 4.
Including all those watching the stream, you can all play this one. Because this is your Mind of Steel, random, pithy, factoid from Steel for the next year. Steel
Subliminal
resolution.
frequency.
Ooh.
Right.
It fits
of your
perfectly,
next
doesn't
one.
it?
Think of your next one. Again, an integer between 1 and 6 inclusive. Odds and evens.
Okay.
Well, I chose 4.
You can choose that again if you like, but you can pick a different one if you're feeling brave.
Okay.
Polish.
No, that's Polish, not in the Polish system.
Okay.
Right. And the last one, are you ready?
Yes.
Again, an integer between 1 and 6. Are you ready for the final reveal?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the Mark Steele jargon generator.
It's a
Brilliant.
Subliminal
Oh.
frequency pole-based weapon system.
And also,
All
just
we
remember,
needed
by the
is
way,
2 dice to operate it.
Color spelled your way. Fine.
Excellent.
We'll agree on the way to spell glamour at least. All right, Lee. Thank you very much for being
Been
here.
fantastic. I have a weapon here. This is one of my Christmas weapons. It is a terahertz weapon.
Yeah.
It is so bright, it has a warning on it, and it's risk group 2. It says exposure might be harmful.
Gosh, don't expose me to that.
And I have this. So watch out, everyone.
That emits photons,
Because
people. And photons.
It is photons, real photons, and
Yes.
might shine a light.
are they collimated or uncollimated and coherent photons?
Definitely both.
Oh, good.
Bit of both,
Twice
yes.
the
It
Twice the
depends
power.
what day it is. If day's got a Y in it,
All right.
then you know.
And finally,
Unbelievable.
Raynard.
Well, I'm
the Mind of Steel channel is linked in the description. Do go subscribe right now.
yes, I was just going to beg for more subscribers, because it somehow my personal sense of self-esteem is now correlated to that hopefully ever growing number. And should it ever fall, then I shall become a gibbering wreck. And maybe
we'll be here for you.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be forced to actually go to my friends for real social time if the number goes down. That's all there is.
Let
for
it
me.
not be. Let it not be. All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much. That was hours 1 and 2 of the 12-hour marathon. We've got another one coming up. It's the debunker party.
Looking forward to the rest of it.
And yes, so be sure to stick around. This video will link you to the next, and some people have already linked it in the live chat. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.